Hello and welcome back to my channel, and as is tradition, I took a long hiatus, and so I'm going to acknowledge that, apologize for it, and then just kind of sweep right past it. But it's been a little while, so since it's been a long time, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping, and I'll maybe put a cut timestamp so that if you are here for the content of this actual video and not me yammering, then you can skip past all of this right to the topic at hand. While I was gone, we reached a big milestone on this channel of 5,000 subscribers, which I personally think is astonishing and amazing, and I'm so happy and grateful that I have 5,000 subscribers. It's wild to me that I'm still here making YouTube videos and people are still subscribing to them, even when I take like months off at a time. And to celebrate and to show my gratitude, I have a new design in the merch shop, my bonfire, which is linked below, and so you can check that out. And so those will be available. I think they're on demand order. Okay, full disclosure, I did soft launch this like 6 months ago, but I'm still really excited about this design. It's by Aria Emerald Illustrations, and it's really, really cute. On a more serious note, we were having like a lot of stuff going on in my house the last few months. My orange sweet kitty boy, who you've probably seen in some videos, has passed away, and that was a huge ordeal that we went through. We did a lot of like really cutting edge like medical intervention for him, and he was turning a corner and we thought that he was going to pull through it, and then suddenly things changed and things did not go the way that we had hoped that they would go, and he ended up passing away. And I just wanted to put that out there because I know that you've seen him in the videos, and so I just want you to be aware of that because, you know, like you're not going to see him in videos anymore. And it's just something that in this house that we're coming to terms with. Also, on a similar note, Loki, my little Shih Tzu black and white boy, has also been through some serious medical situations. But after multiple surgeries, he is now cancer-free. So that's like news on the good news front. But, you know, any of you guys that have pets know that these sort of situations are really stressful. Like, the pets don't know why they're not feeling good, and it's just really hard to, like, comfort them and to help them. And I'm just really happy that he's starting to feel like himself again, which means that you might hear him crying and whining and barking in the background of my videos again, which will be great. But yes, definitely it's been a stress in our house, and, you know, if you have pets, you know that medical issues like that are just really stressful. They kind of consume a lot of your time and your emotions, and also, you know, end up costing like the same thing as a European trip. So I just wanted you to know that that was going on. On a happier note, I am feeling more creative. I made a the UPS truck is here, and that means my shrimp have arrived. So I have to go. It's like 90 degrees outside, which is way too hot for shrimp. So I have to go rescue them, and hopefully they're still alive, but I'll be right back. Okay, that was actually a false alarm. That was a different kind of delivery. Not like the shrimp that you eat, like that you order at a restaurant, like pet, cute, little colorful shrimp that go into an aquarium, and you order them online and you don't want them sitting out in the sun. Anyway, sorry. What were we talking about? Oh, okay, sorry, I just kind of ran down the stairs, so that was silly. Oh yeah, so I'm feeling more like myself. Like, this is the time of year when I like become a human again, and so I'm feeling creative, and I made like this little set, like just test run of these mugs. I'll put a picture here. They're kind of like inspired by guardian angels. They're very silly, and I'm going to put them up on my Etsy. We'll see what happens, but I hope that I can really get productive and do like a run of pottery like sometime this month. So I don't know, I'll keep you posted on that if that's something you care about. Okay, so I think that's all my news. And I think you're all up to speed now, so we'll go ahead and drop into the actual topic of the video. And that is that I went to a witches circle in my community, not over Zoom, in real life. So I used to go to witches circles, not regularly, but like I've been to a few. And the person that hosted them, that I just really liked her vibe, I guess, and we got along really well, and I just really liked the people that would show up to her events. And she has moved to a different city, and so she's no longer hosting events, and that was years ago. And so I just feel like part of me feeling human again is Project Leave the House. And so I did stumble across a witch gathering, and I was like, this is my moment. Like, be brave. Like, let's go see what's going on here and see what this is all about, for research purposes. It's really hard to find like witchy gatherings in your area. And that's totally understandable, because I think that these groups keep their events really protected, because they don't want to attract the wrong people. Because in a conservative area like I'm at, if you come across to the wrong people, that can result in like harassment or like hate campaigns, or just a bad time. So these sort of gatherings can be hard to find, and like totally understandably so. But then it makes it hard for people like me who like genuinely want to go. It makes it hard for us to find. It all started when I made a gumball machine that dispensed tarot cards, like tiny little gumball sized tarot cards and little fortunes. And I made this gumball machine, and then I was like, this is like a little interactive art piece. And so I have to find like a place where people can actually interact with the art piece. Like they can actually put a quarter in and like get a gumball and get a fortune told. Because when you make art, like art isn't the object. Art is the exchange between the viewer and the object. So if this piece is in my basement, is no longer a work of art, is now just clutter, right? So that involved me like cold messaging all sorts of places that I thought would be a fun fit, like art galleries and like little fashion boutiques and, metaphysical shops, and just like trying to feel everybody out until somebody would think that it was a cute, funny idea. Like I thought it was a cute, funny idea. But as with most of my harebrained schemes, most people were not that receptive, and I got mostly no response. I got a couple of hard no's, and then eventually there was a metaphysical shop in town that emailed me back a enthusiastic yes. And she thought it was such a cute, fun idea. And I know, I think that no, that's not right. I think some metaphysical groups, shops, people, whatever, they take themselves very, very seriously. And they maybe are kind of guarded because they maybe think people are critical of them and think that the whole thing is a joke. And so when they see something that's a little bit hokey, like I would say a gumball tarot or a gumball machine that reads your fortune, I feel like maybe they would find that insulting and hokey and that they would not want to associate with that. But this person has a great sense of humor about their shop and thought it was fun. And I brought it to her, and it was very popular, and she thought it was great, and she actually has had me refill the whole gumball machine several times. That's how I sort of built a relationship with the shop. And then when I was purchasing something from the shop, the people behind the counter asked if I wanted to be on an email list, and I was like, yes. And I thought the email list was going to be for sales and promotions from the store. And I knew that there were some tarot card readers and things like that affiliated with the store where you could come into the store at certain hours if you've booked sessions with these folks. So I was like, oh, it will promote them. What I was not anticipating was that they have community events and classes and get-togethers and all sorts of stuff. And almost all of it was not something that I would say that I would be interested in, but I just kept following the email newsletter. And then, at one point, it said on the calendar, the first week of every month, they host a witches circle. And I was like, that is not mincing words at all. That's very straightforward. That's what I'm that's what I'm looking for. There it is right there. And it was very informal in the description. And it said that it was a discussion and that the discussion topic for that one was psychic ability, I think. Yeah, specifically, again, not mincing words, putting it all out there. And I thought, psychic ability is not necessarily related to my witchcraft practice, but I don't want to wait a whole month for the next session. And I'm not going to be playing an active role, obviously, in the first session that I show up to. I'm there as a guest, so it really doesn't matter that it's something that I can contribute to or not, because I'm just there to learn and listen. So I went online and I registered, because obviously they want to know how many chairs there should be, and then I just waited for the day to come. It was very nerve-wracking. The day comes, and Project Leave the House is underway, and I fuss about what I'm gonna wear, how much makeup do I put on, do I do my hair, how good should I look? I don't want to look like a try-hard, or that I'm trying to prove something. I don't want to be too dressed up, which is a huge problem for me. I'm always way too dressed up whenever I go anywhere, so I was trying to take it down, taking accessories off. I decided not to wear my witch hat, which was a good call, because nobody there had a witch hat on. So I think I would be very embarrassed if I would have worn my witch hat. Maybe in future, I don't know. I had a really cute dress that was tan corduroy, and it was long puffed sleeves and a high neck, kind of like this top is, and it was short, pretty short, short enough that I had to wear shorts underneath it, so we didn't have any wardrobe malfunctions. And that's because this year I got my thighs tattooed, and it's the first real tattoo for me, and so I want to be perceived as a tattooed person in certain circumstances. I don't know, if you have tattoos, you probably get me. And they're new. I wanted to show them off, and I had them covered, because, I don't wear short skirts in my profession. But yeah, so my tattoos are just peeking out a few inches, and I think I had just a cute necklace on. But like I said, I was trying to really tone it down, because I didn't want to be I didn't want to attract too much attention to myself, which, when I get an outfit ready, that's usually my goal, is to attract attention to myself. Okay, so I had light makeup on, cute dress, not dressed up, very low key, and didn't really do my hair. And then I accidentally showed up 20 minutes early, so I sat in my car outside the venue like a weirdo. And then people started arriving, and people that were wearing flowy patterned tops and big earrings and things like that. And I was oh, this is it. These are the people. And I just kind of sat in my car and tried not to look like a creep. And then I timed it so that I would arrive at the door of the venue exactly at the right time, because I didn't want to be early or late. In hindsight, what if the start time was on time? Anyway, okay, so I go in, and the chairs are all set up in a circle, but there's not enough chairs, and so they're adding chairs, and then we keep having to scooch the circle out. And where I'm at, the chairs are a little bit more squished together, and then on the other side of the room, they're a little bit more spread apart, because we're not expanding the circle evenly. And then somebody admits that they actually had not registered online, because they weren't sure whether or not they were going to be able to go until it was too late. And then some people murmured and agreed that maybe the regular people just don't feel the need to register online. And so maybe they misjudged how many chairs they were going to need. I don't know. I just thought that was funny. And then we all eventually got in, and we all got situated, and people were getting tea and stuff, and people were having loud snacks and things like that. And I was just too nervous. Guys, I was so nauseous. I wish that I had remembered to bring some chewing gum or something, but I was very nervous. Recounting this, I'm talking a mile a minute. So I'm going to slow down a little bit. Take a deep breath. Okay. So there was somebody who was obviously leading off the whole thing, and they were maybe a well-known person within the community, and it was not the person that owned the shop. That person was a couple people to the left of me, but this person was right on the other side of this other person. And so then I felt oh no, I'm at the front of the circle. I'm trying to hide, and I'm now in the front of the circle, pretty close to the person that's organizing the whole thing. Anyway, so she kind of calls everybody to attention, and then she's okay, let's start off with introductions. And she literally goes and looks directly at me and goes, "You should start." At me. or like, let's start with you, which was so strange because, like I said, there was somebody right next to her. So I don't know why she didn't start with the person next to her. I guess maybe she like already knew that person. I don't know. But I felt suddenly like I'm not hiding anymore. And like everybody's paying attention to me. And I'm like, and I just forgot how to, I don't know how to introduce myself, but like, how do you introduce yourself? I know how to introduce myself in like a corporate meeting, but I don't know how to introduce myself in like a witch's circle. Anyway, so I just immediately deflected and I was like, oh, I'm not sure what I want to say. Like, I don't know what information that, you know, we want to share, like, or what everybody's interested in hearing. Which in my, like, I felt was a very reasoned response and maybe like formed in a question to like kind of pass the torch back to this person so that they can like restart introductions, maybe like with someone else. Anyway, she says, oh, yes, I understand. I will start introductions because, and then, you know, and then we'll know how we're going to do it or whatever. And so she introduced herself and then she goes, okay. And then instead of like doing right or left next to her, she again goes, okay, now it's your turn to me. And like, I don't know if she was like curious about me because she didn't know me and I was new, but like at the very beginning, she asked who was new here. And like, I swear there was at least 4 of us. So I don't know. I don't know why it was me. So, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. I have a lot of nervousness in like social situations. A lot of us do. I would wager most of us do. And the way that manifests for me is that I often project like my feelings onto other people. And so I just sort of make up like what I think that they're thinking, which doesn't do me any favors. And I'm trying to work really hard at being more critical with that response because it's not a good response to have. So I'll tell you the response that I had as soon as she was like, okay, go ahead and introduce yourself, that I felt like she was being suspicious of me. Like I'd been found out, like I was an imposter, but like, I don't think that that was the case at all. I'm sure that she was just curious about me. And, you know, sometimes people in that line are like, you know, very receptive to people. And so maybe she just was like really curious about my energy and wanted to find out more about me. But that's not the way I took it in the moment. I was like, oh, she's suspicious of me. She's trying to reveal me, which is so silly because I was there in earnest. Like, anyway. So I flubbed through my introduction and I just tried to keep it really short and to the point. And then I was expecting her to be like, okay, and then go to like one of the other people that had raised their hands to say that they were new. And start with them, you know, because I was like, why would you start with me? And then, but no, she just wanted the person next to me to go. And then they went around the circle and I was like, what? Why did I? Anyway, I have no idea. I have no explanation. So then after everybody was introduced, then we went ahead and started like the meeting of the witches. And I don't know if you've ever been to this sort of event, but oftentimes it will start with like opening a circle of protection. And, you know, some people believe that when you are doing witchy things or talking about witchy things with other witchy people, that you are opening yourself up to spirits and energies that you want to protect yourself from. And it's just seen as like the right thing to do. And for someone like me, and I don't have any sort of supernatural belief, like I don't feel like I'm in any danger from spirits or energies, I still think it's a really great way to start an event because it's sort of like rapping a gavel to say like, okay, we are, you know, starting the meeting officially, and it gets everybody on the same page. And if you do it the same way every time, then everybody is like put at ease because they're like, okay, this is familiar. And she said anybody can participate in opening the circle, opening the circle of protection. And obviously I was like, I'm not going to participate because I'm new and like, I just want to be respectful and not step on anybody's toes. Even though I think in hindsight, it might have been a good idea to just rock and roll because I know like how it's done. And so then I could have shown everybody that I was actually like, you know, that I knew what to do and that I was trustworthy, I guess. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so circle of protection is opened. And And then the discussion began. And so the person that was heading off the discussion, she was an older woman, not quite old enough to be my mom, but older than me. I would say like kind of in between that age. And she had sort of short gray hair, and she had really beautiful like earrings, and I think a beautiful necklace and rings, like tons of rings. And then she was wearing like a flowy top. So definitely, like, I don't know if I'm describing the vibe, but that was like, I would say a third of the people in the circle kind of fit that similar description. And then there was people in the circle that were like much older women. And then there were like a couple of people that were maybe my age, maybe a little bit younger, but I wouldn't say there was anybody that was like super young that was there. And so it was time to share. And so the leader of the group asked if you could raise your hand if you have psychic ability, or like what your interest in psychic ability is. And so some people raised their hands and shared that they were looking to gain psychic ability. And we're talking about like all the big C's. I don't remember any of the C's except for clairvoyant, but it deals with senses, like having supernatural senses apart from your like normal everyday senses. So people were sharing that they were hoping to develop different senses, different psychic abilities, and then some people were sharing their specific type of psychic abilities. Some people were talking about like seeing visions. Everyone that shared about seeing visions were very clear that they did not see like things physically in the room with them, that they would see like pictures like flash in their mind, or like if they would hear things, it would be like a disembodied hearing in their mind, and that they weren't like having auditory hallucinations. And like the whole time I'm hearing this conversation, I was like, okay, that's good. That like, cause you know, like anytime you hear somebody that has psychic ability and they're like having auditory or like any sort of sensory hallucinations, like somebody that like me, where that's like kind of my special interest, I immediately am like, oh no, like you should talk to a doctor about that. But this all seemed to be like, I would say, I would not call it anything that would cause me concern, but like, that's none of my business anyway. Like I was just there to like hear about their experiences and not to be like judgmental to them. But I will tell you that while this sharing was happening, my brain, I was like uncomfortable and I was nervous, and I was thinking way more about like what are my hands doing? What faces am I making? Or like, how would I respond to this if somebody asked me to speak right now? Like I was just in my own head, just having this huge monologue where I was barely even able to hear what people were sharing. And I just had to like stop myself and be like, I am clearly very uncomfortable. Like, what is the source of my discomfort? Oh my gosh. And definitely the inner monologue is like trying to be like, ooh, what a reasonable explanation for this. Or, ooh, actually, that's not that supernatural. I think most people have like, you know, these sort of feelings and thoughts, and that you have confirmation bias and you just pay attention when the voice tells you something that comes true, and then all the other times when the voice tells you something that doesn't come true, then you just ignore it and blah, 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 you know, because it's my special interest and that's just where my mind goes. But that was causing me to not be in the moment and to not enjoy like the presence of these other people. So I had to like shush it and be like, stop. I am here to be among people that share interests with me, and you know, people who don't share interests with me. I'm here to be among other people who have interesting things to say. And I just decided to hear it more as like being told stories and being like shared stories with me. And I just imagine that we're sitting around a campfire and we're sharing our experiences and our stories. And instead of being like judgmental or like psychoanalyzing everything that everybody's saying, I was like trying to just enjoy it as they were, you know, entertaining me, like sharing with me, like engaging with me in this sort of storyteller tradition, which is something that humans are kind of hardwired to do. And so it's supposed to like, you know, scratch that itch that I have where I need people to tell me stories fairly regularly. Like, and it was just about like 15 or 20 minutes in to the event where my brain just sort of gets exhausted with being nervous and anxious, and then like I'm too tired to maintain this level of being nervous and uncomfortable. And so then I just have to like start to fall into like acceptance and become more comfortable. And then I really started to like, be able to hear more of the stories and appreciate, like, be in the moment and like really enjoy myself. So once they really started speaking about getting visits from loved ones that have passed away, or like getting messages on behalf of, spirits for other individuals. And then the topic of charlatans came up, which is also a special interest of mine. So I was like trying really hard not to, say anything or like put my 2 cents, like, don't, just be quiet, be respectful. The person that was leading it talked about how she likes to go to mediums because she can really tell if they're fake, because they're like going off of body language, or you can tell that they've looked this person up ahead of time, which is, hot reading is when you look somebody up ahead of time, which is really easy nowadays with social media. And then cold reading is where you're just kind of going off of like their body language. And that's what she was describing, but she didn't use those terms. Again, like I use those terms because it's a special interest of mine and I do a lot of like reading and listening to podcasts about it. And so she talked about how, like, red flags for when a medium is not real, which I would say maybe that a medium is not sincere. And so she says, because she can't help all of her clients. And so sometimes she wants to send clients to these other folks. And you know what else she mentioned? She mentioned that a real red flag is that these scammy charlatans will say that, they're just going to want more and more money. Like they'll say, oh, I can help you, but it's going to take like this many sessions, or you have to purchase. Oh no, she said, yeah, I can help you, but it's going to take like six sessions at like $140 a session or whatever. And then somebody else in the circle piped up and says, oh, or that you have to break a curse. And lucky for you, I happen to sell the candle used to break the curse. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is definitely some of the stuff we've talked about and that I've like read about, and to see it like within the community, like them calling people out for this behavior made me so happy, because I was like, good, because we shouldn't give anybody a pass for that kind of predatory behavior. So I'm glad that they were like, this is bringing down the whole community, and when you see it, you got to like call it out and put a stop to it. And specifically they mentioned John Edwards. Somebody in the circle had been to a John Edwards event and they were like, the only way I can describe it is an absolute circus. Like it was terrible. I would not recommend. And maybe he has medium powers, but he's using them to like feed off of people's misery. And I was like, what? It was very, it was a very engaging topic of conversation. And then immediately the conversation switches to ghost hunting and like clearing people's haunted houses, or like going to famous haunted houses to like document them. And which I think is very entertaining, but maybe kind of cheesy. And then the topic came up of a haunted house that I actually grew up near, so I had a funny story about this. And I was doing such a good job not interjecting or derailing or like putting myself in the center of attention. But I couldn't wait. I couldn't hold off any longer because I had to tell this funny story. Like if I can get a laugh from a group of people, then I just cannot hold myself back. So I interjected with my very short, very to the point, and somebody else had brought up this haunted house. So I wasn't even the one that brought it up. And I told my little funny story, my little quip, and I got audible laughter in the group. But I feel like that was a moment where the person that was leading the discussion, they took that time to like steer everybody away from this topic very hard, like a hard pivot, because she said that ghost hunting is very sensational and it's very engaging and a lot of people like are interested in it, but she said it really distracts from the goal of mediumship, which is to heal the world. And I don't have an exact quote, but it was basically along those lines. And I don't feel like she was like, hammering me back down. I feel like my change in tone gave her an opportunity to steer the conversation away a different direction than where it had been going. So I don't think she was necessarily mad at me for like sharing my funny story, but definitely she was not into the ghost hunting conversation, even though a lot of people in the circle really wanted to talk about ghost hunting. And then, people shared a few more stories, and then we kind of wrapped up. It was really like prompt. It started at the beginning of the hour and it ended at the end of the hour. I think we only went over like 5 or 8 minutes. And then we called everybody to close up the circle. And then there was kind of this lull. There was like fellowship afterwards where people were kind of breaking away and like chitty-chatting. And I really made a beeline for people that I don't know, just by judging them, I thought maybe we would get along. But I realized that there was nobody was exchanging phone numbers, which kind of bummed me out. And I made a joke. I was like, I feel like we should all exchange Instagram handles or like just some stupid thing. And everyone's like, oh yeah, ha, ha, ha. And then nobody did. Maybe I'll make cards next time, be like, ooh. So yeah, I just had some like pleasant small talk afterwards, but no contact information was exchanged. I did not collect any more witchy friends from this event. So I don't know. Was it a success? Maybe. So am I going to go back? I don't know, because when it all wrapped up, I just felt this big wash of like ick, of like, ooh, that wasn't what I was expecting it was going to be. I don't know if I got what I wanted from it. And then, you know, when I drove home, like when I got home, I was like, I don't think that was like negative vibe. I think that was just this normal dip that I get anytime I do any sort of social event. Like, I think it's just like the adrenaline dropping and you get this low mood and you're like, oh, that was awful. I'm never doing that again. I'm never leaving my house again. But I don't think that that's a reasonable response. I think that was just this sort of emotional in the moment response. And looking back at it critically, I think that definitely I need to go at least one more time just to see, because you can't judge it on the first visit. However, the next topic was announced that it's going to be like psychic healing, which like psychic mediumship is something that's really controversial to me, because there's like, I don't know, there's a lot of baggage there, but like like psychic healing, that's, I don't know, there's so much baggage there that could go terribly wrong, or like it could be great, because, you know, like when they were like calling out being a charlatan at this circle, maybe they'll call out people that are using psychic healing in place of medical, like doctors and vaccines and things like that. So I can't know. I can't jump to conclusions. I probably need to just go and find out. For science, I need to just keep with it. Yeah. Have you ever gone to like a witch's circle? Oh my gosh, I forgot to tell you the funniest part. So when we were getting our circle situated, a guy came in, and I think he sold like beaded bracelets at the shop, and he had like done a restock, and he was just headed home and like saw that we were meeting up and wandered in and like was talking to us. And he was like, hey, what's going on here? What kind of event is this? And somebody was like, oh, this is a witch's circle. And he just kind of stopped and he like backed right back out of the room. And I don't think that it was one of those, I don't know. The impression that I got wasn't that he was like, oh no, they're doing evil things. I think the impression was that he was very respectful of the powerful energy that was happening in that room. You know, like, oh no, they're very serious and they're going to get up to some really serious stuff. And I need to like back out of here. I don't know. I just thought it was like a really funny response, but just immediately like just conversation backs back out of the room. Have you ever been to a witches circle in your community? Have you ever hosted one? Have you ever thought about hosting one? I've definitely thought about hosting one, but I'm like terrified to do that because like you do not know who's going to show up. You do not know what they're going to say. You do not know what is going to happen. Like there is just so much unknown that I don't know if I could ever be brave enough to host something like that. Maybe if there was like a convention in town, I would do like a panel, or like have a booth. I don't know. I don't know, guys. Anyway, it is Pride Month. Happy Pride Month to all of my people celebrating. Do all of the celebrations. Be celebrated. Otherwise, hopefully there won't be such a huge gap for my next video, but we'll see. We're going to see. But that's it for me today. So here's your send off. Have a wonderful day. Go do some witchy stuff. Go look up and see if there's anything going on in your area and then go check it out. Who knows? Who knows? Who knows? Bye bye.